Good evening, cheeseheads. Welcome to Monday's edition of the Cheese Room. We'll be discussing the Wolves game today, which, we'll see. We're going to get into it. I think there's going to be a lot of different opinions. But first, with me tonight, always on a Monday, top right-hand corner, it's Becky. Becky was at Molineux on Saturday. Great commitment, Becky, but I hope you realise that it's Conte wants the players to suffer, not the fans. So
yeah, and we were just saying off air then. I'm all right, thank you. We were just saying then off air. A lot of us that went to Sheffield United as well hadn't really kind of got over that. So Wolves was quite flat, and it was reflected, I think, in the performance. But I think off the field as well, I think those of us that were there were just a bit like hopeful, as you always are, but just a bit numb, really. But yeah, I'm great to be here. We need this therapy. We need this on a Monday, don't we, to kind of keep the positivity going.
Yeah, we got to talk it out, haven't we, Beck? And then next up, South London, regular Cheese Room podder. It's Paul. How are you, Paul? Made any more friends on Twitter lately?
Yeah. No, I haven't actually, but it's nice to be singled out for a bit of abuse because, as my mum would say if she was still alive, at least they're leaving someone else alone, son. So I'm good. What a week. What a week, guys. Let's be honest. It was pretty tough, But I'm looking forward to this tonight. I always enjoy coming on a Monday and chatting with people. So, I've got a lot to say, as I guess everybody has.
Yeah, we love you, Paul, anyway. But last but not least, all the way from North Carolina, it's Jack. Jack was with me for last week's cluster, and he's back today. I think you're a jinx, Jack. How are you?
I think I am. Yeah, I got pulled in as a substitute here last minute.
Yeah.
So I'm scheduled to be with you Wednesday, I think. So hopefully I'm not.
We ain't got a good track record.
Yeah, and I just found out my son picked up a ticket from Jimbo to go to the game. So that I don't know. Of course, we'll see what happens.
We must do better, Jack. Me and you, aren't we?
We must
do better.
We must. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks.
Right. Yeah. So, cheeseheads, before we get into it, same old bit of housekeeping. Please hit the like button if you like what we're talking about. Even if you don't like what we're talking about, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you don't. Follow us on the socials. And please get involved in the live chat and help us out and give us your opinions. So, where should we start? Same place as always, guys. First of all, let's get this picture up. Join the conversation. I don't know why we've got that in there.
What the fuck is that?
That is. He sent that. I said to Paul earlier. Somebody's got hold of that picture. He's obviously sent it to the group himself. But yeah, that's very dapper.
Gotta be photoshopped.
So, starting 11. Start with you, Beck. You were at the ground. Hour before kickoff. Starting 11 comes out. What you thinking?
Okay, so I'm trying to kind of think of the kind of mess that was Sheffield United and that kind of squad and that lineup. I was surprised to see Royal not playing, I've got to be honest. I think possibly he had a knock and that was maybe why he wasn't in the starting lineup. Obviously, happy to see Romero back. Genuinely forgot that Dier wasn't there, and then we were like 10 minutes in and my friend Joe, who loves Dier, went, oh yeah, Dier's not playing, because I'd just seen kind of Longley and Davis and gone, oh, well, Davis is playing left wing back like he was at Chelsea. And then as the game kind of pans out, you're like, oh no, of course Porro's playing and Perisic is playing. And yeah. So I thought Sarr was one of the better players in Sheffield United in the dross that was there. So again, I talked last week about the rotation with him and Skipp. So it's nice to see Skipp back. Did Richarlison deserve to play instead of Son? Possibly. He was so kind of, his body language was so bad on Wednesday night that possibly that's why they moved for Son. I mean, not massively surprised. Nice to see Porro play 2 consecutive games, and it was interesting. I know John put it on Twitter as well. Is that we were anticipating how Porro would be with having Romero next to him, because the 2 games previous he'd had Tanganga and Sanchez. So that was nice to see Porro with Romero. But yeah, other than that, fairly for who we've got, fairly.
No great surprises.
Shock. No.
Jack, for you, any changes would you like seeing Richarlison start? I thought he started sulking on Wednesday. against Sheffield United when it didn't go his way.
Yeah.
He struck me as a little bit sort of like petulant and just started sulking. So were you surprised? Were you surprised that he didn't start, or did you think Son would come back in?
No, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised that I wouldn't have been surprised if he started. I'm not surprised he was on the bench. I mean, Richie wears his emotions, on his sleeve, as they say, right? You know exactly how he feels, what he's thinking, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay knowing how a player feels and showing the fact that he cares, that he's upset, that he's being taken out or not playing. I'm fine with that. I mean, you want to have a performance to match it, of course, but I'm fine with the emotion that he brings to the squad. I'm perfectly okay. But I did jump. I saw when Dier's name wasn't on there. I was like, "Ooh!" I kind of first was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I realized, "Oh wait, we got to get some of these three to play together because they got to play together on Wednesday." So I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." So when I looked at it on a whole, I was like, "Yeah, that seems like a very reasonable lineup away at Wolves."
Yeah. Do you agree with that, Paul? I mean, Langley in the middle, but obviously we've got Milan with Dier out, Richarlison not being picked, 2 attacking wing backs as such. What did you think when you saw the team?
I thought it was a dress rehearsal for Wednesday night.
Yeah,
that's what he's going to play. I think Royale, if he's fit and he gets over this little knock he's got, he'll come in for probably Porro, which just because he's in a good vein of form at the moment. Well, he was in a good vein of form at the moment, Royale. So I think what you see on Saturday will be, either or right wing back. I think that's what you're going to see on Wednesday night. So I think that's why exactly what Jack just said there, that we need to have a dress rehearsal with that back three, so to speak, and before Wednesday night, and that's why Dier was on the bench, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree, mate. I agree. What about Richarlison, Paul? Because earlier in the season when we signed him, I think on the Patreon, even though like when I wasn't even really part of this yet, and I was a bit like I've never been a massive fan of Richarlison, and I don't think you were either. Has he done anything yet to really convince you, or?
I think that's an understatement. He's not a wide attacker, quite simply.
No.
He's bought because Kane might leave, or is a good chance of Kane leaving. So he's a number 9. It's where he scored all his goals for Everton. It's where he scored his goals for Brazil. He's useless in build-up play. People who listen to me on the podcast will know what my feelings very clearly on this. When you give him the ball, he lays it off straight away. He's certainly not Son running in behind Son at his best. He's not back to goal like Kane. He's more kind of like through the middle and creating havoc, or and I'm going to use a phrase that you use, agent of chaos. And he makes things happen. As a wide attacker in Conte ball, it's not working. It's clearly not working. And unfortunately, it didn't work the other night when he had a chance to be the number 9 and to show what he had.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised he didn't start, to be honest. It's going to be difficult for Richie because whatever Danjuma's done to block his copy book, we're not too sure yet. But there's an opportunity there for him to, if he can play wide attacker, to like cement himself. But he can't do it, in my opinion. He can't link very well with either fullbacks or midfielders inside him. He can't do it. He tries too hard and he goes down all the time. When it's going against him, he does sulk, as you just said a minute ago. And to use a Royal Marines parlance, he wraps his tits. He just gives up. And I'm still waiting for him and to get some goals, because you can see the pressure now starting to build in the media. Like 4 or 5 months, £60 million asset, not scored. He's been out. We know he's been out. We follow the club. We understand that. But Richie not playing and not starting at the minute is even with a woefully out of form Son, unfortunately, I still back Son to be better in build up than Richie.
And when I find difficult is in our group, when people talk about him, the qualities they talk about of a centre forward then is his defensive diligence. When I hear a centre forward who's being bigged up for his defensive diligence, I'm starting to question what we're looking for. Do you get what I mean? But I think he's getting frustrated as well, which obviously isn't going to help him. But I think that's the type of player he is. So I think it's a tough situation for him at the
It
minute.
was a shame he had an opportunity. I know you've talked a little bit about Sheffield United on Wednesday and Friday, but he had his opportunity on Wednesday, and we were saying with him playing in the middle, it was an opportunity. If we think back to Marseille when he scored those goals at Marseille, they were both headers. You know, they came from crosses, Perisic or Son, whoever it was that crossed him over, and he was there, wasn't he? And that's there wasn't any of that kind of service on Wednesday, so he never got in those opportunities. When he has had kind of snippets of play, I can remember at home, he's been the one getting the corners and, like you said, tracking back, getting the ball back, getting it go out for a corner, throw in, kind of that sort of thing. When him and Kane were playing at Chelsea, they were trying to do these sort of flicks over the top. I said this last week, and it just didn't quite come off. In Sheffield United and Wolves away, that isn't the type of play he's gonna get. It's not that kind of free flowing sort of stuff. It's hard graft, knuckling down, and like you said, kind of taking players on. And unfortunately, it's not quite working for him. I know we'll do things in chronological order, but later on, when they did finally make some substitutions, even you could see from his body language the fact that Moura was brought on before him. If he'd had a water bottle to chuck or a hairdryer to throw, he'd have thrown it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like you said, Beck, let's get into the first half. I actually thought that Spurs started well. Not actually. I think a few people thought. I thought Spurs started off quite well on the front foot. Kulu had an early chance saved. There was a Perisic header in that first half. How did you think? Because obviously we had two attacking fullbacks, 3 going forward. How did you feel the first half went? What was your take on that?
Yeah, it's funny watching it back, obviously being there and then watching it back like on Match of the Day, and then the next day I watched it. And actually, loads of people were saying, we needed to see a performance. They needed to do something from Wednesday. We said before about playing, twice a week. There's a quick turnaround, and we needed to see a reaction. And yeah, I think Spurs did start. It's still fairly laboured in the play. It's not quick and was last year.
But for us,
yeah,
it was
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Compared to like Wednesday, when I think still now we wouldn't have scored. It was better. Porro was far more involved. That was nice to see him kind of bombing down the wing and him kind of, and you said about his attitude and the way he is. He was very sort of, and there's a lot of from him, which I think, and he was on our side because we were like, imagine we were like the whole down one side. That was really good for us, and and we were doing our best. We were singing as much as we possibly could when to try and kind of lift things, and it was, and you kind of reflect back and you think, had Porro's free kick gone in and had Sonny's chance gone in, it would have been a different game. It just never really had that feel that we were going to win. It was just going to be 0-0 or we were going to be 1 goal either way, and that's kind of how it transpired, really.
I think we do have the first half stats on here as we're talking about it. I'm just checking. I'm not very good on the old. Doesn't look like we have, so I'll take them down. Yeah. But Jack, first half performance for you. How did you feel it went?
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to confess that for the first time, probably 18 months, I didn't watch live. I had my own game at that same hour, so I did not see a good chunk of the first half. I did check out the highlights. I haven't rewatched the whole game, but I saw enough to what you guys are saying is that it was dominating in the sense that Wolves got nothing, right? That first half, when you hold an opponent at home to 0 shots, you may not be, like you're saying, you may not be fluid, you may not be creating tons of chances, but clearly, from what I was able to watch and the replay, and also just look at statistically, they were very dominant in terms of making sure that Wolves got nothing going forward, and so that's unusual considering our first half performances this season haven't been all that strong. So that was a really good sign. And then unfortunately, my own match, gives me a chance to turn it on midway through the second half. So that's what I got to watch live. But no, the first half seemed very good. And I saw a lot of clips of Porro look good. The thing that's a little concerning for me, and I'd like to come back to it because it's happened now across 2 games when I guys talked about it, is the volume of crosses that are coming in. They're finding nobody. Yeah. And particularly the fact that the volume is overwhelmingly only down the left. But we'll come back to that. I wanted to discuss the wing back play a little bit more in context of both the last couple of games and what that looks like going forward. But yeah, no, I thought first half for Spurs on the road, I thought it was a good response, even though they didn't execute clearly all that well. They clearly had the better chances and should have scored at least one of those. But
yeah,
didn't massively work the keeper. It's like you said, it was crosses that came over that he would just catch in the air.
Yeah.
And then obviously the 2 chances where they hit the bar. But I always say to Jack when we're at home games, there isn't a situation. We had this at Chelsea for Forster. There weren't any fingertip saves. It wasn't, like I said, it was just all a bit kind of huffing and puffing. But going back to what you said, when I didn't actually realise that Wolves hadn't had any at all. But that was down to Skipp. That was down to Hojbjerg. It was down to kind of Romero. He does bring that kind of presence. We talked off air about Forster and about playing out from the back a little bit more and being a bit more assured. I just think we had enough quality to beat Wolves, when there's whatever they were, in the league.
Yeah, we have enough quality to beat Wolves. Even with the team we had out Wednesday, we had enough quality to beat Sheffield United or should have. So, I agree with you. So, obviously, I was just going to come on to Paul. So, Paul, we've had Perisic's header, which was, as a chance. What Kulusevski had that one where he cut inside, didn't he? I'll come on to the free kick in a minute because I've got another point on that free kick. But yeah, we did start off on the front foot and we were overwhelmingly on top, weren't we, in the first half? But obviously, there are more points to really get into the second half. But the first half was encouraging, wasn't it?
I thought it was really, really good. We were definitely in the ascendancy. The Costa injury when he tried to climb over the back of Skipp and then he's obviously hurt his knee ligaments. I'd never want a professional. You all know what I do for a living. I wouldn't want to see anybody injured, but I did look at Costa and say, yeah, so what? Because I just don't like the guy. It was quite ironic that he tried to climb over the back of Skipp and he goes down. I think that interruption really stifled our rhythm, so to speak. We were definitely, I mean, you say we were pressing well. We were letting Dawson have the ball. I think it's a tactic, Dawson, and we were getting the ball off him. We were turning it over. We were setting traps for him. We were closing down his easy passes. He was punting it long, and then Romero long late. And Daves were clearing up because they were getting out in front of Costa and stuff like that because Costa was very, very immobile. Costa goes down injured. Beck was saying off air that there's a good 5, 6, 7 minutes, and seemingly Kane got a bit of stick. So but they didn't go over to the sideline. Beck, do you want to jump in there and talk?
Yeah, so we were just saying that obviously you don't, Kane got dog's abuse. It was 8 minutes, wasn't it? Added on at the end of first half, but Costa went down and then he went down again, and then there was another guy who got hit in the face, I think, didn't he? So there was a lot of time. But when the guy got hit in the face, Kane was getting dog's abuse, and some of the things they were singing were absolutely horrendous. And he was just sort of standing there, hands on hips. And then as it kind of goes a few more minutes, I said to my friend Joe next to me, Pep and Arteta would have pulled him over and there'd have been like a kind of mini timeout. But there wasn't that sort of, it was just, well, we'll just stay where we are and then it'll restart again. And it definitely affected the rhythm. I just think they're the sort of things that, Dave's just put there about, in-game management. That's the type of thing that there's an opportunity there, even if it's to go and get a drink, or just to kind of come together. And it wasn't, and I think that was a bit of a, it's a shame really, because that's the type of thing you want to see. That's what we want to see off the pitch. You want to see that there's this sort of hunger and desire and this sort of urgency. And that's what it was saying. It was all just a bit flat, a bit lethargic, a bit slow, and the stop starting didn't help. But you just come over, have a few words, a couple of reminders, even a few high fives, and then get back out. And it I don't know, it's just. It's all
Becky,
just a bit...
It looked a really tough. It looked a really tough game for Kane because he was getting man marked. We never see man marking now. Lamina, is that?
Yeah, Lamina.
Yes.
It was Lamina. Yeah.
But so he's a midfielder, right? So he plays a Hojbjerg kind of skip 6 role.
Yeah.
So we weren't getting outdone in midfield because their centre backs. Dawson he's a cart horse. Dawson.
Paul,
West Ham. Go on.
Sorry, just to come on to that. You saying about Dawson at one point, I can remember watching it. As I was watching it on the TV, Lopetegui got Dawson over and spoke to him, and there was a bit where they were both speaking to each other. Okay. So, like that, what you said, but I think probably Lopetegui's probably got him over, and they've discussed what's going on and done something to rectify it in game.
So they've got a No, mate. That Lopetegui's a good coach. We'll come on to it in a bit because I'm a big fan of him, actually, to be honest. So their central defenders aren't moving. They're not marking really much the central defenders, and they're being outmanned in midfield because Lamina's got to look after Kane. Kane's pulling him left, right, and centre. So we're not getting overdone. Costa's not moving that mobile, as we say, until he gets taken off, and then obviously Jimenez comes on and causes a few more better player. Exactly. So we were well in the ascendancy. You know, it was if you take that game in isolation, I know it's difficult to do that. You would say that's not a bad performance from Spurs. Forget about what's happened at Sheffield and forget about like what's happening around the club and all the other noise. If you take that first half in isolation, we looked all right. Yeah, Wolves are a decent Premiership outfit. They're a little bit low in confidence. We get that. You know, they've got some good players. They've got some technicians in midfield. We'll come on to that in a minute as well. But I thought that first half was on the road. I don't know if Bet you go quite a lot of away games. We'll watch it, but I thought it was quite a tidy performance, to be honest. You know, as you say, didn't have a shot on target. We hit the bar. You know, if what's maybe. You know that's. Yeah, when your luck's not in, it's a cliche, but it's not in. You know, somebody gets a deflection. You know, Sarr's a good goalkeeper. He's a very good goalkeeper, I think, and he makes it. We put him under pressure. If your luck's out, it's out, and it's millimeters. You know, Porro's free kick, Son gets a little deflection off the guy's shin, and it goes onto the bar. But if he doesn't get that deflection, Son, slashes it with his left foot. It's in the top corner. We've seen him do that 20, 30, 40 times over his career. It's just when it's not there, it's not there. But that first half, I had no problem with it at all. Absolutely no problem.
The first half was good, Paul. I think the issues and what people, more myself, because you know what my take on it, on a lot of it is. Yeah. But I think sort of the issues I've got, we'll get onto in a bit. Come home to roost as the game goes on. But Becky, what I was going to say to you, we spoke about the free kick, and what I wanted to bring up, Porro took a free kick, hit the bar, probably one of the best free kicks from like the edge of the area we've seen from a Tottenham player this season.
Longer than that.
Kane got back on him, didn't he? He saw.
Well, Porro so going back to Porro's one, and people saying about the pictures that we put on Twitter, they're like, "Oh, you know, you're all so smiley." I'm like, I have to be smiley. I drive a long way for these games, but I was like, I'm not even getting my phone out to film this. There's no point. And then when it was Porro, we're like, "Oh, it's Porro! Hold on, find your phone, come on!" Because it's and where we were, the way he kind of, and also as well, before he took it, it stopped and started because they were encroaching and the ref was pushing it back, and even felt for the free kick, it took about 4 minutes. But yeah, you like curled it in, and then like we were saying, Kane's getting dogs abuse. There's a chance in the second half where he feels like he did a Sonny run from the halfway and ran for all these players, got fouled. And we're like, oh, Porro's going to do the same thing again. And then Kane takes the next one and it hits the wall. And you were like, Porro's had, like you said, one of the best free kicks we've had for ages, but he only got allowed to take one of them.
But I think he was Sporting Lisbon. I mean, Jack, I don't know if you know this, but I believe he was Sporting Lisbon's free kick taker. I think he took their corners and all their like dead ball.
I don't know about all of them, but he's definitely like
heavily involved in
their set pieces. That's correct.
Yeah. What did you think about that, Paul? When he hits the bar and then when Kane steps back up, even though we love Kane, do you think, look, H, give this up, mate? There's far better people equipped here to take free kicks than you. Let's get off them now, mate. Or are you hoping that one day?
Don't go into hope here. We'll be here all night. I was surprised to see H take it, but then that's privileges of rank, I guess. He's the most important player on the field. I think someone has got maybe a Hugo, if he was on the field, or someone a bit more senior, might have said, let Porro take it. But I mean, if anybody sits near me watching this in the ground, when I'm at the ground, I just say, every time I get a free kick, anywhere near the 18-yard box, like Kane, step away from it. Kane, just step away from it. There are, Becky, on the South Stand, there's still the stickers saying, watch out for like Sissoko shots. Are they still there? Yeah, right. So, if you're like in a wall facing the Harry Kane free kick, you got to cover your nuts and your face. It's going to hit you. Everything. It's going to hit you. For a man,
you need a cup on.
Yeah, and a face mask,
Yeah.
like It from someone who hits a ball really sweetly. You know what I mean? It's pathetic.
Yeah.
His
It's-
record at free kicks.
It's baffling
pathetic.
because we're
It's-
saying about how he's so good at like penalties and where he can pinpoint positions and passes. But the thing is, as well, in a match where he was getting so much abuse, because obviously every time he kind of mishit it or anything went out for a throw in, it was ironic cheers. I just didn't see the purpose of it from that point of view either. I just didn't understand it. So, like you said, we've said this before. He's obviously got some hold over people to say, because even Sonny's good at them as well. You know, Sonny takes them for South Korea. He takes a really good free kick.
Perisic should be better free kick taker than him, surely. But so let's before we move on to second half. What are your Jack? Did you watch a lot of Porro? What did you think to his performance on Saturday? What did you think to? Obviously, you've seen him a couple of games now.
Yeah.
What are your opinions on Porro?
What I like about him is the desire and willingness to take a player on, right? That's the whole point of this system is you basically have someone playing in a winger position that has defensive responsibilities, but his whole goal is to get in behind and fling the ball into dangerous areas. That is the whole purpose of that position. And he is not shy. He's more than willing to take people on. And I think if you've got quality holding midfielders like Skipp and Hojbjerg, and you got a right-sided defender like Romero behind him, give him all the license you can possibly give him. Let him go forward as many times as he wants. You know, that's what we've been missing on that side. Now the volume of crosses, you know, last two games, it's been 31 crosses on the left and 5 on the right the last two games. So still we're not getting the ball slung in, but he's certainly better. Say what?
Good stats there, mate.
Yeah.
Good stats.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly better at taking people on at this point because he's quicker. He's got to move on them than Perisic does at this point. I think Perisic should be more happy to take people on, but his step is a little slower than it used to be. So he doesn't quite get around as much. But no, I like the way Porro looks. And I mean, I don't criticize players. I mean, even Richarlison at this point, I mean, we all remember how long it took for Sonny to really settle in.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so talented players have to take time to find their place in the squad and the system. And so I'm not ready to throw any of these people out. So for me, I think Porro looks quite good. I mean, he's got work tactically and positionally to do, but I like the way he looks.
Jack,
that
I'm
had
44.
improved though.
I haven't got time for these players to settle. I haven't got enough time. I'm running out of time. I've been... Sorry,
we need these January signings to come straight into the team, like Kulusevski and Bentancur, right? Yeah. Everyone's expectations. Although I do remember, I think after the third game, plenty of people, you know, saying that Becky was a bum. So.
Yeah. Well, they were saying that after 20 minutes in his first game, Brighton.
Yeah, 20 minutes probably. Yeah, you're right.
I'll cut in there,
yeah. Porro's positionally is better, I think. Like I just said before about maybe having Romero there, or he's just had a little bit more time to get used to it. Because at Leicester, obviously, he was all over the place. It was better. What was frustrating for me, and I said this on Twitter, is when we've decided to make the substitutions, which I felt was about 10 minutes too late, we took Porro off. And although I think I agree with Paul, Royal will play on Wednesday because he's kind of established that sort of position, particularly at home. You know, by taking Kulusevski and Porro off, we kind of took our most creative players off, and then that was really reflected in the stands. It was that sort of feeling of, oh, right, okay, we're bringing on Moura. You know, what has Danjuma done? And the fact he's bringing Moura on, and it just that seemed very bizarre.
Yeah.
I got a question so Becky and Paul and Gibbo. This is something I see the change that Wolves made at halftime, right? So they pull off they bring on Collins and Troy, right? For Lamina and Netta. So their shape changed, right? Because I didn't get to see enough of the first half, but their shape definitely changed.
Yeah.
And to your point, Becky, our first comes in is 68th, 69th minute or whatever. So how long did because they were clearly better in the second half from the outset. And to your point, it's still too long to make the adjustments on our side. Now, and you could argue the adjustments weren't the right ones. I don't claim to have that level of tactical awareness, but it just seemed like they made a change to counter us because they got blown out, and then we didn't make a change to try and adjust to that.
Yeah. And we don't. And when we often make changes, it's like for like. We don't make a change to change formation because that's what Wolves did. They made a formation change. And like we just said then, the guy that was marking Kane all first half, who was actually interested in him when I watched it back on Match Day, they pointed out about how well he played. He's the one who got hoiked off at half time. So it was a team decision, and it was for the kind of the movement of the second half. Whereas when we did make changes, it was just like for like. It wasn't to kind of, it was right at the end after they scored. We had two up front, but it was all just like for like. And I thought the Porro was really working well with Kulusevski down the right hand side, and that they both came off. And Moura isn't a right winger, and he's not going to be crossing it. He wants to be running at players as well. So it was all just a bit strange.
It's a ballsy move, isn't it? When you think about it, you take off. You've got your man-for-man mark the first 45 minutes. So a team are in ascendancy, right? Lamina. You thought, okay, I can't remember if he got booked. I don't think he did get booked. He might have got booked. So you take him off, and you're going to put on an attacker. Yeah, I know you put Collins and you go to 3 at the back. Still quite an offensive move from Lopetegui, right? Now, this guy's been to the Europa final. He's been in charge of Spain, if I remember correctly, as well, where he went unbeaten and stuff like this. This guy's no mug. This guy knows what he's doing. I desire more than I should a coach to take that kind of risk for us, because just like, okay, so you've shut down Kane for 45 minutes, right? You've done your job. You come off. Okay, all right, we're going to go 3 at the back. We're going to go like wide wing backs, and we're going to put Traoré on as a wide right attacker. We're going to go 3-4. I think they went, in the end, they probably went 3-5, well, 3-4-1-2, because Saliba played as a 10 for a while, and he got hooked as well. Complete formation change, and a complete with 2 personnel changes. I mean, that's pretty ballsy. I know you're at home. I know you're chasing a game, but you're, and you take off a man marker of the one of the best strikers in the world. I mean, and it wins in the game.
So they did, Paul, on 45, I've got these at 45, they brought on Traoré and Collins. And then, we've not spoke about the first 10 because Spurs were in it for the first 10. Son has the shot that hits the bar. And then on 67, they bring on, they take off Saliba and bring on Kuna and Moutinho. Now, this is what I spoke to Paul a little bit before this, and obviously Becky's got into the tactical stuff. What I think, how it felt to me, was that we had that first 10 minutes and then Spurs run out of ideas. Coach like Lopetegui can see that happening. He can see that Wolves are building a bit of momentum, and he brings on a player like Moutinho. Me and Paula spoke about Neves before we come on here. Then you got two excellent, technically minded midfielders. You can do, and Moutinho is great at keeping the ball and keeping the ball moving in the right direction. And we ran out of ideas. As Paul has said there, and you, Becky and Jack, has said, they've made subs to change the game, to take a hold of the game and become more offensive and try and win the game. And the most annoying thing for me is that Spurs did, even though they made subs, they literally did nothing to combat those Wolves changes. They were happy. The people who were ever making those decisions were happy to let that ride out and thinking, we're just going to carry on as we are, and hopefully we'll either get through this. I don't even know what they were thinking. So,
which is silly because Wolves were like at the point where they were constantly coming at us, constantly, and you're kind of watching it going, can't they see that it's going to be a matter of time? And it's not being a negative Spurs fan going, this has got 1-0 Wolves written all over it. You're watching it going, they are just coming at. We're getting deeper and deeper and deeper. There's going to be a mistake or there's going to be a worldie. It's just going to inevitably happen. And we're all watching it going, why didn't we just put 3 in midfield? Why did we not do something rather than just go, they're a bit tired, we'll take those 2 off. We'll put 2 players on exactly the same. Because that was what was so frustrating about it. It was perfectly winnable. Wolves were not happy with 0-0. I think if it had dribbled out to 0-0, it would have been like, okay, it's not a defeat. But Wolves went to win the game, which is brilliant for somebody, for a team that's having a bit of inconsistency. And that was just so refreshing to see. And we just don't see that. There is no in-game management, is no change of formation. we don't start on the front foot. I've just watched, half an hour Brentford before I came on the show. They were all over them and they scored in the 6th minute. They had about 3 chances before they scored. It's just, we don't play like that. It's like, it's so rigid, and whether it's outdated, we said off air, who's deciding what happens, who's making the decision. It's just a bit puzzling.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jack, I'll come back to, but Paul, we spoke about this before, and obviously you've I don't want you've seen reasons, and like Conte's the man to sort of carry on, and but how did you see that change in the game? Because I see that as unforgivable, but obviously I'm at the point where I've been seeing these things for a while, and it's been on my mind for a long time, and I'm sort of at that point now where it just is what it is, and I'm like, I've told you so. But how do you see that, Paul? Because I see it as unforgivable. But do you think they did the right thing, or do you think no, that's worrying that they're not reacting to those types of changes?
It goes into like a little thing we were talking about before, where I said this on the pod as well. Conte sitting at home watching it on his 60-inch plasma with Bose surround sound, made his headphones on, and he's on the phone. With
a glass of wine in his hand as well.
With a glass of wine in his hand, and he's probably on the phone to someone in the stand, and then that person in the stand or on the bench is then relaying to Stellini. Stellini can see. He knows the energy. He can see the thing unfolding in front of me in real time. You're only seeing what you can feel the game exactly. So I wonder if basically Stellini's just basically a mouthpiece there for what Conte is seeing. Stellini's got to have his own ideas. In the Mason, they got together. Beck said at one point and had a tete-a-tete and stuff like this. And I do wonder what the community is Conte still that man, even though he's sitting 1,000 k's away and in Capri or wherever he lives, like with a glass of wine, watching it? Is he still like saying like, no, leave it? Does Stellini turn around to him and say, no, boss, we're getting pushed back here. We're getting this data from the bras and the vest they wear that this guy's like, we need to replace him quickly or whatever. Who's making those decisions? Because I think we're just really reactive, and it frustrates me like anybody watching the game, because we just let, when Moutinho came on and he sat next, I mean, I love Neves. I mean, we talked about, I think Neves is a fan. He's got a bit of everything. He can pass, he can tackle, he can lead as well, and he can ping a ball. He put his foot in. Do it all. He puts his foot in. He hits the ball like Huddlestone used to hit them. He hits it so true and so sweetly with minimal backlift. He had 3 shots in 68 and 69 minutes. Forced to save 1, and he just missed briefly because of picking up the second ball because we were so deep. Now, are you trying to tell me that Conte, even watching it on the TV, can't see that? And Stellini or Mason or one of the analysts sitting there, one of the 15 staff that he's got, can't see like Hojbjerg is knackered, Skipp can't do it on his own, so we've got to change it. Somebody's got to. Where's the communication in the team? Who's making those decisions? Is it a man 1,000 kilometers away, or is it Stellini, or is it a fucked up mishmash of both? Because you can see that's just not. It's not helping the team at all. And
it felt to me that Mason wanted to make a change at about 55 minutes. And that's when I saw that he was quite animated with Stellini, and Stellini was sort of shaking his head at him. But, Mason kind of was waving his arms about, and then in a bit kind of a Hojbjerg-esque kind of like just dropped off. But I don't know what's gone on, but it just felt like we need to do something about it. And then obviously inevitably we didn't. And then we made strange substitutions, and then they scored. And then there were very reactive substitutions, so bringing Richarlison on and things. And it just seemed like it was, we talked off air that I felt that Stellini was quite positive with his changes at Chelsea and West Ham. He made them quite early, and it felt like he was allowed to make his own decisions. Whereas at Wolves, it felt like whether it was saving energy we seem to be saving our energy for the next game all the time. Doesn't seem to work. But whether that's what they were doing, I just don't know. But you just thought that, like I said a minute ago, you were just waiting for Wolves to score, and that's what happened.
Those decisions that they make a little bit earlier, Becky, though, because we're winning, we're in front. Those decisions, and then they look good when we're 1-0 up because the game's going how we want to. and I don't know what you think, Jack. When we're under the cosh and we're drawing, or when we go down, then they don't tend to make any changes till we're either, up or down. And then I mean, I won't, because I'm hosting tonight. I'm not going to really get into it as much, but as from my opinion. But what's your opinion on it? Like, we've obviously said that Wolves just sort of like seized the momentum, and Spurs just carried on as normal. What's your take on that?
I think Paul has hit on an unknowable. He's asked an unknowable question, which is who's making these calls. And my feeling would be is knowing the types of personalities, the types of personalities that Conte is a type, right? These are high performing, exceptionally successful people who are going to be like, I'm not going to let other people, I'm not going to delegate decisions to other people. This can be my record. I'm the head coach. If anyone's going to get blamed, it's going to be me. And so they're the ones, even from 1,000 kilometers away, making these calls. Maybe that's a bad decision, but that's my assumption, is everything that's happening when he's in Italy is still being mostly directed by him. You just hope that he's taking the feedback from the people pitch side to help him inform of what he's missing, because we all know watching the game from the sideline, watching it from the stadium, watching on television are three different perspectives. And so, you would hope that he's open enough to getting the feedback from his staff to say, hey, this is what we need to do. We really think strongly. And you trust them, that you hire these people for a reason. You would trust their judgment. In the past, the club, we made a lot of comebacks, right? We probably still lead the Premier League in points saved from losing positions, probably. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but those games were not rescued by changing formations most of the time. They weren't made by critical subs most of the time. It was just an effort and execution that improved in the second half, right? I don't remember a lot of times, and correct me if I'm wrong, where there was a halftime adjustment that said, oh, that was the critical shape change, tactical change, personnel change that caused us to come from 1 down to 2-1 up, or whatever the situation was. My memory may not be that solid, but Paul, you remember one?
He did it at Chelsea away. Sweating my ass off in the shed end at 100 degrees.
That's right.
He went to a 4-4-2.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And then obviously we got the corner where Romero pulled
Cucurella's
hair, and then obviously we from that again. Kane got that, but we went to 4-4-2 at that. That's the only time I can remember this season.
Yeah, and so that's why it is frustrating to see, supposedly a world-class manager unwilling to make those adjustments, because I've always said that this squad seems to scream out for some sort of 4-1-1 or 4-4-2 at times because of the personnel. We've got plenty of people who can play a traditional winger and a outside midfielder, and we have plenty of people who can play, off of Kane in different ways, whether it's Rishi higher up the pitch and Kane playing behind him, or Son playing up front and Kane playing behind him, or it just seems like they're screaming out for the ability to be tactically flexible, but for whatever reason we just aren't.
In my opinion, though, Jack, like the Bournemouth game, we decided to go on the front foot. We went 2-0 down because we were trying to play the old sit back and attack them. They got a couple of good goals from Kiefer Moore, but we decided to, maybe it's not so much a tactic, but we had to get at them then. And Bournemouth,
let me just interrupt you real quick. Are those Kiefer Moore's last goals in the Premier League? Probably too.
Probably. And but then
don't say it.
But obviously Liverpool the same. But Liverpool are a decent team and we couldn't claw it back. Newcastle at the time defensively solid and we couldn't pull it back. So we have had these, but I think the tactic is just get at them a bit more. But I think a lot of teams have worked Spurs out. Like Wolves have out-coached, and that's a tough thing to say about Conte, because we all believed that Conte was going to be this elite coach. Yeah. I don't know loads about tactics and stuff like that. There'll be people who are involved in these pods and shows. People like Seb, probably Paul, a lot more, and yourself, and that, a lot more about the tactics than me. But it just seems to just get out coached quite a bit now. Just getting to that point for me, it looks like that's what's happening.
I think a lot. We're on this point. I won't labour this point. I think a lot of younger coaches are prepared to take a few more risks.
Yeah.
They're not as risk adverse as Conte, and something that I've noticed as well. I watched a little bit of Championship. I mean, Company changes. I mean, I know Company's a Pep disciple, but Company at Burnley changes the formation 3 or 4 times and a half. Goes 3, he might go 3. He might push one of the. He might do a Pep.
They're
push one of
fluid.
they move around, and that's because he's instilled a system there. We've got a system. It's 3-4-3. It's 3-4-3. We're a counter-attacking team. There's probably a lot to be said about teams that have watched us at the back end of last season and seen how we played, how we rely on Kulusevski and Bentancur when he's fit and stuff, and we've been worked out. There's probably a bit of truth in that. It's horrible to say that as well, because we've got 2 elite strikers up front. We've got a really good player in Kulusevski as well. We've got a fairly solid back line when we wanted to last year. We were defensively quite solid, and I think a few teams have just found us out. Let them have the ball. Let their wide centre backs have the ball. We'll play really compact in the middle, and we'll shuffle across a bit like what we do. When better teams with the ball come to play against us, we go to a really, really, really low 5-4-1, and we try and get the counter attack. Just as our tactics, other teams have found us out as well. There's probably a lot of truth in that, to be honest.
We run out of ideas, don't we, Becky? Did it feel like that when you were there? Did it feel like it when you watch and you get that impression if they score, it's game over? Like jokingly, I tend to put on groups and stuff. The minute another team score, first thing, game over. Even though it's not, but that's how it feels.
It felt like Sheffield in the same sense. It was like, oh, how long is left? Oh, there's not much time left. Oh, let's quickly get Richarlison on and kind of throw him forward, and it was just then, and I don't. It's like when he came on, the games I can remember him coming on, he barely touched it, because they weren't getting the service to him, and it was all just a bit kind of because they practiced 3-4-3 all week. To then have to change it quickly, they're not very good at it either. That's the other problem. When we have to change that to try and get something out of it, it doesn't work very well either. So to be fair to Richarlison, when he has come on in that sort of situation, it hasn't worked because they're just so regimented in the system that they're trying to play. And like you were saying, then again, back, those games like Leeds and, those games where we came back and, Bournemouth and all those sort of games, we were very, very lucky to get those results in those games. They're very, very high risk, aren't they?
Yeah, you've got in those scenarios that is all, you can keep changing information, but the other, Leeds never, but like Bournemouth sit back, you've just got to keep going. But it's when like the ones that annoy me are the games like the weekend and like Sheffield United. And I mean, we're giving, and especially me, giving the coaching staff a bit of stick. Do you put any on the players, Beck? Do you put the players not putting in that extra bit of effort? Are they?
Something's clearly changed. I've said this. We rotated heavily for Wednesday. That didn't work. We then rotated again on Saturday. That didn't inevitably work either. Something's happened. We talked about Richarlison's body language.
Lack of belief.
But that comes from the coaching squad, though, doesn't it? That's what we're saying right back at the beginning about the show, about bring them over for a little bit of a timeout and have a bit of a high five and a few words in ears, and it's almost like they don't know what to suggest because they're just a bit lost, and that kind of filters through, and it's very, very similar in the sense that yes, okay, we have more chances, and I know we're saying that Wolves didn't have any shots on target and all that sort of thing until the second half. It just felt like, oh, here we go again. They've scored, right? Okay. Whereas before, when we conceded before the World Cup, we were conceding early. Leicester scored really early. Leeds scored really early. There was always this, oh, we're better in the second half, and we've got time, and that'll come, and that urgency will come. And the last 2 games we've conceded really late. 75 minutes odd. I don't mean like 90 minutes. There's not enough time to do anything about it. And it's just this inevitability that we are going to do that for the rest of the season. Wednesday, they score in the first half, game's over. It's just it's got that about it, that hunger and that urgency and that free flowing football that we had last year, even arguably before the World Cup, isn't really there. So you go into games thinking, oh, it's okay, this will happen, and we'll get this sort of chance, and it's quite bleak, for want of a better word,
Yeah.
really. Where we're going to get the goals from.
Let's have a little chat about their goal, and then we can come on to how we think these things can be rectified. So, Jack, Jimenez, as Paul said, Jimenez, far better player than Costa. As a shot, pretty decent shot. Parried away by Forster. Maybe question marks over where he parried it. And then I think it was quite... I mean, I don't really rate Adama, but he had to get that as it came back to him. You've got to get it on target. You've got to get it high because Forster's on the ground. What's your take on that goal? What happened? Could it easily avoided, or just some amount of pressure building? And
well, it can be easily avoided. It's easily avoided if you are taking, if you take the game by the scruff of the neck, so to speak, and you apply the pressure to your team. But the reality is that, you want Forster to kick that out to the side. I don't know if I'm gonna crucify him for it. He had some very good saves before that kept the game at 0-0. And I don't know how many more times. I think Traore's 2 greatest goals in his life have come against Spurs. I don't know what it is, in the same way that, like I said, Kiefer Moore hasn't scored since. He probably hasn't had 2 goals in the Premier League. He never will again. I don't know what it is about this club that just brings players up to higher levels of performance. But yeah, I mean, he had a great...
And downgrades ours.
Yeah, Jimenez is not a great I mean, he was prior to his head injury. I think he's never been a shadow of himself since then. It's a shame because my wife loves watching him come on when he plays. But, he's never been very effective since then. Yeah, but he had a good shot, and it comes out to Traore, and for whatever reason, he loves scoring against us, and he hit a really good shot, and it goes in. And I literally sitting there on the side of a pitch in North Carolina, holding my phone, saw that go in, say, okay, well, I can get back in the car, because I had seen enough to know that there was unlikely we were going to pull that out. So I just got in the car, turned it on the radio, and listened to it on the way home. It is what happens, and that's the fear I have for Wednesday, is that we're going to get the same lineup, and we could be all over them in the first half. But if we don't connect and get a goal up, then the longer it goes, the breakdowns are going to happen somewhere, because they're going to actually have. I mean, they did get smoked pretty good from what I can tell against Fiorentina this past weekend, but I think they're going to come in thinking they have the upper hand, especially with a couple players, the goalkeeper and the midfielder, whatever his name is, coming back into the lineup.
Bentancur. But Paul, what did you think to the goal? Your thoughts on it?
If I'm an analyst for another team and I want to get out of defence, I'm going to go in the half spaces between the wide wing backs and our centre backs, whether that's Royale and Romero on the right, or Longley and Davis and Perisic in this situation. Okay, so just before that, Traore's come on, Longley's come out to the corner flag, and Traore's just blitzed past. We know Traore's a powerful, you don't get that big.
And Langley is easily beaten.
He's easily beaten. It's not again. Our 1-to-1 defending isn't great. You can say that about a lot of our players. So he gets a cross in. The most annoying thing about that, Jimenez is on his own, heads it down. Forster makes a good save. Forster parries it back. Now, I could be being ultra harsh here. I don't know, but Forster parries it back into the 6 yard. Romero hooks it away. We get away with that one again. Jimenez attacks the space for the goal. Jimenez attacks the space between the wide centre back on this side, which is Longley, and the wing back. Gets a good shot in from the corner of the box. I said this on a podcast, I think, and Pat Chan told me about this in our Patreon chat for Children Patreon, that he thinks that Forster's overdove, i.e. he's basically thought it's going to go a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, so he's actually preempted where the ball's going to go, and all he can do then is not push it out to the right, push it back into the danger area, where unfortunately Adama Traore is kind of waist footed it, kind of does a karate kick, kind of crane kick thing, and it goes underneath the bar that Porro smashed 30 minutes before. it could have been stopped with a bit better defending. Any goal can do that, but it was unfortunate that they attacked that space because I think it's fairly well known that that's a weakness for us. And also, yeah, I'm thinking Forster needs to push that way to the right, not push it back into the box.
Yeah, no, clearly.
What did you think about it? It did come. I mean, in defence to him, I think it was a decent strike from out there from Jimenez. What did you think to the goal? Are you putting that at Forster's?
It reminded me. We were saying last week when we've won without conceding, haven't we? So we had the 2-2-0s, and then we got hammered at Leicester, and here we are losing 1-0 and 1-0. The goals that we've conceded with Forster in have been similar, where he's ended up on his backside and the ball's kind of flicked over him, or there's been a shot that's kind of he's parried away and then they've kind of hit in. I just felt our defence looked very kind of flat-footed. I know things happen all of a sudden and really quickly, but it was a bit like, oh, someone get a foot in there. We go back to the Sheffield United goal when he just kind of skipped his way through. The only person that actually put a challenge in was Skipp. Everybody else was sort of not making a challenge, and he's there trying to kind of dive in for it. Once Jimenez had shot it and it came back, everybody's just standing there. But yeah, I got back here and my Jack, who's only 10 and is a goalkeeper, said he was just really disappointed that Forster didn't push it away. There was that one earlier on, you said when it came and he punched it. And he punched it, didn't he? It went out for a corner. Jack was like, you should have caught that.
Yeah.
Those little things like that. I know there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes, and we said that if Porro's chance had gone in and Sonny's had it, and yes, but Kane said in his interview, we weren't clinical enough. But equally in that situation there, Forster, because like we said about Sarr, he catches everything. He's there, and if Forster is going to be, playing for still a fair length of time, again, teams are going to realise that he's not great when you sort of boom shots at him because he just parries them straight back out. And it was really disappointing. But like I said, we'd stopped sort of singing by that point. Everything had just gone really flat. So it was just unfortunately inevitable.
I think Forster, we spoke about this before we came on the air, but I think Forster is basic's probably an unfair word, but I think he is a standard Premier League goalkeeper. I think I don't think you're going to get any. I think you're just going to get a steady goalkeeper, and he's not going to. He hasn't got the quality to
agility.
He's adequate.
Agility. He's adequate. Yeah, like I said to Paul, I think he's a big old unit. And I think he brought in the he overdove for it, but I think he, because he's so big, I think he throws himself and tries, because he's like slow off. I think he tries to anticipate it and stuff like that, and that's why. Right. And then his hands are sort of like they're not sort of where you need them; they're elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, I looked at it and I thought, could he have pushed it out? Yeah, but is he really that good a keeper? No, I don't know. Isn't
that basics though? That's what my Jack said. They're the basic things.
And I suppose he is elite, and he's playing at elite standard. He should do better, but I don't really expect better from him. Do you understand where I'm coming from? He should do better, but I don't expect. And Hugo's not great at palming it, getting it right out of the way, is he? I mean, he's better than that, but
maybe again it comes back to coaching. Maybe it's coaching.
But then Paul, we're 1-0 down. Then, mate, did you see a way back, or did you watching it thinking because we'd lost any momentum? We're talking about momentum, we had from beating Chelsea and West Ham. We destroy that momentum by whatever team and whatever we do at Sheffield United. But in that game, the minute Moutinho comes on and you don't counteract it, the momentum had gone for us, hadn't it? And then the minute they score, it's completely dead.
Yeah, we'd stopped competing in midfield. We'd stopped picking up second balls. Skipp, in his interview on the pitch after he scored against Chelsea, said they've been working on picking up second balls. He said in an interview with the Spurs play guys that's something he's been really working on. He can't do it on his own. He's a young lad. He's an athlete. He's a very, very good player, Oliver Skipp. I mean, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. There's no need, but he can't do it on his own. So what happened by that point is that they had complete control of the midfield and they've scored. And it was just like, well, all they got to do now is just like drop back into some kind of mid block or low block and just take
Moutinho and Neves.
Moutinho and Neves, they can bring their wide wing backs back and push those right back anyway. So they're effectively playing like what we played, a 5-4-1, or even sometimes like 2 blocks of 5 at some point. If we even try to be offensive with the ball, then the subs come on. You can't expect subs to have like an immediate impact all the time. You've got to give them time to get up to speed. Especially when the subs come on at 77, 80 minutes or whenever Richie come on. I feel sorry for after saying that he can't play wide attack. I do feel sorry for he's getting chucked on and he's being asked to almost do the impossible in a position he's not a natural at. I mean, that's a bit unfair on the guy. Yes, he's very, very handsomely remunerated, but let's play to the strengths of this player.
He needs creative players around him, doesn't he, Paul? He's a forward that needs a creative spark around him.
Why don't we drop Kane in as a kind of 9.5, 10 and then play Richie and then just go to a 4-4-1-1? Why don't we try something a bit different if we're going to throw these guys on?
Try something.
But to answer your question, mate, when they scored, I was 99% sure that we weren't going to get back into it, and that's when you get that kind of sinking feeling that we're just drifting. Drifting.
That's my saying, Paul. That's what we're going to do.
Sleepwalking, I keep saying.
Yeah, sleepwalking,
drifting. Sleepwalking to the end of the season now.
So my take on it is like I said, I think we'll probably win the majority of our home games, and we'll probably go away from home and the majority of our away games we won't win. Do you get what I mean? Like that you get that feeling when you're drifting or sleepwalking, because teams will do what Wolves did to us. Which is
probably what Milan's going to do.
Yeah, we're just sleepwalking. Becky, did you think it was all over when that goal goes in? You're in the crowd, people around you, so you've got that feel of the game.
And they scored late. They scored later than Sheffield United, and we huffed and puffed them. It was just interesting you said about formation then. Son drops kind of behind Kane and Richarlison goes left wing, and that didn't work either. So they just didn't, like I said, they didn't know what to do. They don't know how to change formation. They're just not used to it. So it just looked a bit weird. And, Porro and Kulusevski, I thought were 2 of the better players. And then we've taken them off. And, you're waiting for some sort of magic from Moura, but he's not really a right winger either. It's just odd.
That's what it feels like when you're watching it. I said this on the pod. You're waiting for a moment of individual brilliance, or you're waiting for us to get a dead ball situation or a corner, and we scored a lot of goals. Gianni Vio, our set piece coach, has probably been our best signing. Let's be honest, because we're good at free kicks, we're good at corners, well, indirect free kicks, and corners can score a lot of goals. We seem to have like automations. Perisic when he's on, Son when he's on plays a lovely corner. He's so good at hitting a dead ball, Son, and that's what you're hoping is going to happen. That's no way to this is Tottenham Hotspur. I don't want to lull people into being bored to death and then score. I want to be entertained. I want to see the team going for it. But there was none of that. There was no urgency. I don't know what it was like at Molineux, Beck. Sorry, but it just felt like. It's just a meek acceptance. Oh, this is the way it's going to go. No one is going to say, I can try and change the course of this. There's none of that. There's none of that.
Everyone's watching it saying, where's the creativity? And all these players get mentioned. And I know we've lost Bentancur, and that is a big impact.
It is a big.
But the creativity has gone, and he's trying to kind of use the wings as the creativity. And like you're saying, Sarr was catching a lot of the crosses that were going in. They never really got on anyone's head. It is just nobody's really kind of surprised. And like I just said, going back to watching Brentford tonight, I was saying after the game at Sheffield United, none of us could remember a game where we played for about 60 minutes plus really, really well. We can remember snippets of second halves, and we can remember good finishes, and we can sort of remember, sections of games. And that included games that we'd won. We couldn't remember where we completely dominated the entire game. Maybe the exception is Everton. And they were like, this is how we're going to start. We used to say, didn't we? Remember those games where we got to 0-0 at half time and it was almost like a little mini celebration.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we are set up. And that's why there's been so much fuss this week, because even I'm not Levy in or out. I want Conte to work, but even I'm getting bored of this now. And I keep saying, I bring Jack and trying to keep Jack positive, and we're going to games, and we're setting off at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we choose to do all those things. But it would be so much nicer knowing that we're going to start the kickoff and we're going to attack and we're going to watch football that's great to watch. And if we lose trying, then that's fine. It's just when the players then come out and go, oh, we were lucky, or we did everything right, and you're like, oh, did you watch the same game? It's that just feels like we're just going to play like this for the rest of the season, because even 100%. When Conte wasn't there, we thought that there may be a slight difference to the way we'll set up, and maybe we did a little bit for the home games, but certainly not for the away games. And now it's like, well, Conte's back yesterday. Are we then just going to revert back to type, and it's going to be like this for the rest of the season? And you kind of say it right there, Gibbo. I think we are better at home. We've got some tricky away games. We've got Newcastle home. We've got Liverpool away. So we've got Newcastle away. We've also got Southampton away. We've got Everton away. There are winnable fixtures that we have got away. We just don't know who's going to turn them up. My Joe said when we got to Wolves on Saturday, we're here. We've arrived. Which team will arrive today and which team will turn up? And at the moment, we just don't seem to know. And it's just all the momentum that we gained from Chelsea and West Ham is just evaporated.
I mean, Joe says in the comment, we need to get behind them. We're playing a lot of teams away. We're in a dogfight. This can go two ways. They'll have more fight, or we can pick them off. If they come at us, we can still finish top 4. We need to get behind them. I'd say the Tottenham away support, we'll come back to Becky in a minute because she's been there, is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. You can hear it on the telly and that's that's been really good lately. I've always thought the away support was good, but it's been really vocal lately. But I think they are getting behind them. I think, like Becky said, I think there's bits that are wearing thin now with what's going on. And obviously, I think Wednesday, Sheffield United, a chunk of that's on the players as well as who have sent them out. But Saturday wasn't. But just to finish off on the point with you, Jack, did you think we could get back into that on Saturday once they scored, or were you?
No, that's why I said I was on my phone sitting in a chair on the side of a pitch. I just finished my game. I was like, all right, get in the car and let's go. Don't need to sit here and watch the last 15 minutes. I can listen to this. If they happen to get one, I'll be thrilled. But that's the reason why I got in the car and left.
Yeah,
there was nothing I'd seen that suggested that, unless just a freak bounce of the ball, own goal type of thing. I didn't see it happening.
So I think our season, I think we'll beat AC Milan. I think we will.
Think we'll beat Milan as well.
And I think we'll probably beat Forest on the Saturday. But then I wouldn't be surprised if we go to Southampton, who are fighting for their lives. They beat Leicester and don't win. And a team who have been really poor this season on the whole. When we played Southampton at home, they were dreadful. That was basically in the end, that felt like a friendly. They were that. But
they scored. But then going back to that, they scored first.
Yeah, they scored first. But I think that's how our seasons will go. But more importantly, then, Beck, from your view, what needs to change? Does this? I mean, I think this will just carry on like it will to the end of the season. But in an alternate universe, what should we do? How do we change this? How do we get some momentum again? How do we get some joy? And how do we kickstart our season again after we've let all that momentum go after the Man City, Chelsea?
The thing that seems to be the most frustrating is that people have said this before, we play better when we have longer to prepare for matches, which is why it slightly worries me about Wednesday. Bearing in mind that Conte came back yesterday. I'm assuming they were back in training on Sunday. They were after the Sheffield United game, weren't they? They came back training today after. Is there enough time to there isn't certainly any time to change anything, so it will be more or less the same. It will be the same formation. It will just be slightly different personnel.
It will 100% be the same formation.
But we've got to go at them early. They get a fluky, dodgy penalty or something early on. It's done. Those days of us kind of scoring 4 in one game, I don't think are there now. Whether that's Bentancur's injury or Perisic, it's weirdly, we were saying the other day that we prefer Davis playing left wing back, which is bizarre when we've got Perisic. But Perisic is Champions League experience as well, isn't he?
I think Davis has been better than. I think when he's played, I know he's probably not as contributed to as many goals because he's not played there as much as Perisic, and Perisic is a better crosser.
Takes the corners and stuff.
I think positionally, and when I think he's probably been. He's looked the best, more comfortable doing the whole round left wing back job than anyone else in that squad.
Going back to your original question, we would all prefer the formation to change, particularly the teams that, are kind of low block, and we would do that. But if that's not going to happen, then we just need to persevere with it and just,
just see the season out.
It's just annoying because we've got so much potential. Like even Ian Wright is saying we are not playing to our strengths, and that our strength is our attacking positions. And then we've supposedly reinforced that area by buying Richarlison and Danjuma as well. But we're still not utilising that part of it. And so much is reliant on our midfield. We're lucky Skipp and Sarr haven't got injured yet or suspended, this sort of thing. So I keep saying this. I want the team back that we had from February onwards last year. It's more or less the same players. It's the same manager. It's more or less the same formation. They didn't even have pre-season with him. I want that team back. Something's happened, and I know we've said this before.
They've been worked out.
Yeah, we've been worked out. Something's happened to Son. Now something sort of happened to Kulusevski. It's just Kane's being marked out of games because they know that Kane is our creative player, and it's just we can all see it, and I can't see that changing. I do think if we're out tomorrow, we may as well just end ties. What's the point of keeping him for the rest of the season? We may as well just bring somebody else in that can kind of just do something just to kind of lift the mood. It's no surprise that the season ticket renewals open next week. There's a lot from that side that the club are going to need to kind of, boost and kind of motivate and, bring morale back up. So, it's Kane said it is a big fixture tomorrow, but it didn't have to be the most important fixture tomorrow. We could have beat Sheffield United. We'd have had Blackburn at home in the next round, and then we'd be at Wembley. And that's such a massive missed opportunity, and people are still really frustrated about that because it has ended up being tomorrow being the big, game. But we could have had so much more to look forward to. And so going back to your original question, I would love to see attacking football and enjoyable, exciting football. And we might lose some games on the way, but we're losing games on the way playing this defensive sort of wing back stuff. So
this is my take on it, Becky. We don't win anything with Conte playing the football we're playing. Obviously, we could still win the Champions League, but we don't win anything playing that way. I believe that if Conte were to go after the Champions League, any competent manager with the players we've got would give us as much chance as finishing top 4 as we would with Conte at the minute. That's just my take on it. But Paul, obviously your own take. What do we do to change this? What can we do to stop this sort of like negative, a couple of good games and then it goes to rat shit? What can we do? What's the way forward?
We smash Milan Wednesday night. Yeah. That gets you credit in the bank. That also, I believe, if we beat Milan and beat them well, Conte stays to the end of the season.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
That there is no value in getting rid of someone at that point. I hear, understandably, I mean, I go to home games. I've been to a few away games. I went to Leicester away.
Yeah.
I've been to Chelsea, as I said earlier. I'm sick and tired of watch. I can probably say how we're going to play against Forest at home on Saturday. I can probably say how we're going to play against Southampton the following Saturday because 3-4-3. We're going to do this and this, just as Becky's alluded to there. But to answer your question, if we beat Milan and beat them well by putting 2 or 3 past them tomorrow night, the mood does change. People have got long memories. Yeah, I mean, Beck went at the weekend. Beck went Sheffield. People are still rightly annoyed. You see it on social media, like telling the Spurs social media people to just leave it out and all this fake positivity, etc. They're just doing their job. But anyway, so people are still feeling like really bad about that. But yeah, it can change by winning and winning well on Wednesday night. If we lose, then I think he'll probably walk.
Yeah. Do you think he will walk, Paul? If
Yeah,
or do you think he'll have to be
well,
like Levy go to him
voluntarily?
and say, "Look, what we going to do here?"
I
Do you
think he's
think
going
it'll
to have
have
to
to be
sit
that
down.
combo?
I think if you've got a new manager in now, Saturday 11th, we've got Forest, not the hardest opposition, but obviously, they play well. You're going to get a new manager bounce. By the time that, like, the Newcastle, Man United, and Liverpool come around in April, your new manager's going to be like, well, and if it is Maurizio, then it's Maurizio, and he's going to be
He
well.
walks in the next day, doesn't he, Paul?
He does, because that's
If
exactly what Mourinho did when we got rid of Maurizio.
He's in the next day.
He came in the next day for the cameras for the Amazon documentary. He comes in. He kind of like he get as my dad would say, he gets the band back together.
Yeah.
And by the time that those important games come around, and they are defining games probably. So certainly Newcastle away, I think is going to be really important. Hopefully we're still in it by then as well. By the time 23rd of April we play Newcastle away, then the 27th we've got Man United. Which is a Thursday night, which is weird. And then the following Saturday, we've got Liverpool away. I mean, that's a big week. If Maurizio's in at that point, then I think, the club look at it that way and think, yeah, okay, that's an important week. If we're going to get rid of him, it's got to be this week or next week. Or he's got to walk. But if saying that, just to repeat myself, if we win on Wednesday night and win it well, we've got to keep him, because he's got us into the last 16 of the Premier club competition in the world, and he deserves that. We can't get so far in the competition. Say we get through to the semi-finals of the Champions League, we can't do another getting rid of Mourinho for a cup final or an important game. Can't do that. So win on Wednesday, keep him. If we lose, then the hierarchy got to sit down and say, right, thanks very much, and then Maurizio, your car parking space is back where he wants it. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, how do you see us moving on? I mean, my take on it is I'm done. I'm done with I'm done with sort of like end of days. Poch was bad. I love Pochettino, but end of days Poch was bad. It was time to go. Nuno, Jose, and now I know we had a purple patch under Conte, but I don't live in London. I don't support Spurs because I'm the only one in my family who supports them. I supported them for the way they play football. I want to enjoy watching Spurs. I don't look forward to watching them at the minute. And that's a horrible thing to say. I used to come home from work, think we're playing so-and-so today. No matter who it was, you knew you were going to get, a bit of flair, whatever from us. But, and people, when we played under Poch, people used to say to me, I love watching Spurs play. They're great to watch. And that used to make me feel proud. Like, I know that's weird, but I used to
great for the neutral. People were saying that, weren't we? The neutrals used to watch us.
People saying that to me. But in your opinion, Jack, how do you think this plays out now? What do you think we need to do? What do you think will happen?
Well, if we just kind of go to the next game, my feeling is that we all know what the lineup's going to be. We all know what the formation's going to be. So there's going to have to be better execution in what they're doing. And the areas that seem to me that jump out at it, I mentioned earlier in this show, I totaled it up. In the last two games, there have been 36 crosses from the wingbacks. And they found a Tottenham shirt 6 times. Okay, 31 of those came from the left, came from Perisic. Okay, so either they are inaccurate, or our forwards are not anticipating where the ball's going to go. One of those two things, and it could be both, obviously, in any given cross. But a 15% success rate, is not good enough. So they're going to have to start to figure out, were they not making the runs? Are they not sending the cross the right place? Are they the right timing? But I mean, they were getting a volume of balls into the box that could make things happen, and they're just not finding targets. That's number one. Number two, I see, I watched that interesting game, I'll just say, at Anfield. And one of the things that kind of stands out to me when Liverpool and those sorts of clubs when they're feeling it, when they definitely feeling it. When their forwards get the ball, they're not pulling back up and letting the defense set their shape. They're going down the field with pace. And I mean, I know Kulu's not brilliantly quick, but there's so many times feels like that they cut back and then look to play back across in the center of the pitch for the midfielder to kind of set up the offense. But that's when it breaks down, because again, we don't have the creativity to unlock a defense that's got 9 people behind the ball and in their shape. So I just would feel like us going forward with more purpose, even if you, it seems like they're told almost to slow up sometimes. And the other thing that's going to change it is individual brilliance. I mean, if we're going to get through it, we're going to have to get through it with Kane doing what he can do, Sonny doing what he can do, or Kulusevski doing what he can do in terms of their individual ability being better than the players are matched up against. So, I mean, that's just for the game Wednesday. I mean, I feel like it is Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we've relied on those for too much, Jack? Kane, like last year, Kane, Son, and Kulusevski were absolutely amazing at the end of the season, arguably with the best strike, the best forward line in the Premier League. You had
it wasn't even close.
Mane, Salah, and Diaz, Firmino, but they were absolutely on fire last year, weren't they? All three of them.
Yeah. And to everyone's point is either they are not as good. Well, I mean, we know Sonny's not the same, but between their form dropping off and other teams figuring us out a little bit, that's been a problem. And so the only thing I can see that has changed recently is now when you have Porro and Perisic on the pitch, you're going to get a lot more balls in the box. Something's got to change in terms of either the movement from the forward line or the timing or placement of those crosses. That's what I would say is going to change things going forward, because we're not going to change tactics, we're not going to change personnel. It's going to have to be better execution. That's the only way it's the only way, or just the bounce is finally coming our way, but I've given up on that. So,
yeah. So, quickly, because obviously we're doing we're doing a show on Wednesday after the game. Becky, how do you see Wednesday going then?
Well, I said this to my friend at the Chelsea game. I genuinely can't predict matches anymore. I am very positive. I think I'm just tired. I've done too many games in the last kind of 3 weeks. But I used to go into every game going, yeah, we've got enough to beat them. Yeah, we'll outscore them, or we can come back. And I genuinely just don't know. I said we can get all sorts. I think John or someone on Tuesday asked what the score would be for Wolves, and I went, it could be a drab 0-0, it could be a 1-0 loss, it could be we could thrash them, we could get thrashed. I don't know. I just don't know. Yes, the atmosphere will be great tomorrow, provided we start well. Otherwise, it'll be fairly quiet. And I'm not saying it's going to be negative or toxic, but it won't be like playing in the San Siro, will it? We score early, jobs are good. And if we don't, the longer it gets, the nervier it will be. We've got a different back three. We didn't have Hojbjerg in the last game. Will that make a difference this time? Skipp and Sarr played very, very well last time out in Milan. But it's like, if we score, it'll be fine. I genuinely don't know. I will be watching it through my hands on Wednesday. I'm hopeful. I think we have got enough, but I thought we had enough to beat Sheffield United and Wolves, so that doesn't count for anything at the moment.
Oh, look, it's difficult, isn't it, Beck, because you are usually very positive, but I think we can tell that you've been to Sheffield United and Wolves at the minute. Yeah, you cut a figure as someone who's been to the last 2 Spurs games. Paul, how do you see this one going, mate?
They'll match us up. They matched us up in San Siro, didn't they? 3-4-3.
They're not coming at us, are they?
They're not coming at us. They're not. No. It's up to us. We're going to find out. We're going to find out whether Conte, after his month of recuperation, comes back and has got the bit between his teeth and he fancies it or not. We'll know within the first 10, 15 minutes. If we score, we're going to win. We'll win. We will win. If we go one behind, then it's game over, and then hopefully it doesn't get too toxic. I just hope. Yeah, I'd like to see a really strong performance. Go down swinging, and go down fighting, and go down with all guns blazing towards the enemy, really, and just give it a go and get some credit back with some of these fans like Becky, who's like one of the most positive fans I know. Yeah. It's like you've been filed down, Becky. It's just like time and time and time again, And I think we're all feeling a little bit like
But
that.
only in 2 games, though. That's only happened in 2 games. At the end of Chelsea, I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, but Becky, they like the team. They stunted your momentum. You're off, you're away. I mean, we go into a whole new conversation about what.
Well, I mean, that's the problem, though, Becky. I mean, how quickly the emotion drops away. I mean, relationships, whether it's with other people or with your club, it's to have a good relationship, you got to constantly make deposits, right? You got to constantly make deposits that relationship, so that when it comes time to take a withdrawal, you feel like, okay, I'm willing to do that. And that's where the fans are. There's not been the deposits. It's not just Conte. It goes long before Conte. We know the issues with the front office, the board, the director of football, all that sort of stuff. So it takes so little for the fans just to go switch off, because the deposits have not been made by the club. Though.
Having a bit of fight on the pitch, that's what we said about Porro. Porro was, looked really up for it on Saturday compared to nobody looking up for it on Wednesday. It's like that's what we want. We need that, and if we have that, then the crowd will feed off that. And
that's why I mean, you want to see them clearly care that outside of Porro in the Sheffield match, it didn't look like really people were into it. The players were into it. So if they are giving it all and they're chasing it down, they're high pressing and they're sliding in, making the tackles, even if it's ugly,
second
the crowd
balls,
gets behind that.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything anyone else wants to bring up on the panel? Anything you wanted to discuss, Paul, what we were talking about that we haven't brought up?
I like that kit we played in the weekend.
Do you like that?
I think that kit's quite smart. That's the only thing I got. I always go back to the kits when people ask me this question.
See, I like the scuba diving kit more than that. I think it looks like a Man City kit. I don't like it. I don't like the blue one. No.
It looks like a 6-year-old at swimming. It's going to wear it.
But it looks great in the dark. It's a great kit for night matches. It's great for night matches.
That's how I look great in the dark, Beck. But,
just turn the lights off on Wednesday night. Yeah. We'll play in the dark. We'll play.
that will look better in the dark, Paul, as well. But I have seen a leaked kit next year, away kit, and I don't know whether it's navy blue or purple. No. And I'm like, yes,
like
that's what we need.
Iridescent purple. I've seen that.
That's what we want. A bit of purple or a bit of navy blue. So anyway, we've been going for an hour and 26 minutes. I think we've all had a chat. I don't think we've been able to get enough out there to really perk Becky up. So I'm hoping that Spurs will do that for her on Wednesday. But are you going to the games on Wednesday and Saturday, Becky?
No, I can't do midweek games when they're down in London. I can do them just about. I got back from Sheffield United at 1:30.
Yeah.
I can't do the midweek ones. But I've promised Jack that if we do make it through to the next round, we're going to try and get to the next one. Because we got to Sporting because it was at half term.
Yeah.
But no, I'm at Forest. I'm at all the home games. I'm at Everton away. I'll probably be at Liverpool away.
Oh, Everton away. That's a crap away. It's
horrible.
It's my closest fixture though. It's only 15 miles from here, so it's my closest fixture.
You can't. It's like literally. It's like the roof's over your head, and it's just as if you are.
I have been before.
What a cattle shed.
Yeah.
Paul, Wednesday, Saturday for you?
Just Saturday. I've got to work on Wednesday.
Thank God, eh?
Yeah, I know. People pay me enough. I've got to work.
Yeah.
So I'll try and catch maybe the second half on the phone. But yeah, I'll be there Saturday. And if you don't know what I say on Twitter, then come and say hello and we can talk about it face to face. Don't hide behind a keyboard.
Nah,
that would be fantastic.
Come and talk to me. Just have a little chat.
He's a teddy bear in real life, aren't you?
Just a little conversation.
Conversation.
Go on, Jack.
I don't know where you won't be there Wednesday. My son, he's going Wednesday. He's a pretty good sized lad, wrestler in high school, and he figures he's going to this one because it's in his mind. It's the last chance. He graduates from uni this year, and he's planning on coming back to the States. So he figures this probably is his last chance to go a Champions League match. So he's going Wednesday night. I hope he's wrong. I hope you're right, Paul, that you come out and we smash him and we get this negativity out of the way. But that's hard to feel that way right now.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Jimbo as well, sorting out Jack Jr.
So
I'll
Jimbo,
tell you, I know you're. Go on, mate.
I was
That
gonna
is
say,
great.
I'll put a plug in for the Patreon. I mean,
Yeah.
the only reason he's able to go is because we connected with him, and that little private ticket exchange, that is well worth the £3 a month.
Yeah. If you are in the chat and you do want to get, join the Patreon, there's always people offering tickets or trying to help you out. It's good. And Jack, me and you are back on Wednesday.
Yep. Yes, we
So-
are.
You lads love it.
We are
You
suckers
love
for
it.
punishment, mate. So with so wish us luck.
Yeah.
But so hopefully we'll be a little bit more. Well, I think even if we win, I can't see us being that upbeat. I think it'll be But
If we win,
Oh,
I'll
I
be
don't
upbeat.
know.
I'll be
No,
very
if
No,
we
but
win,
I'm talking
yeah.
about. I can't see us going football
No,
like
but
I want to.
this
like,
is why
okay.
this is what a lot of people were saying on Saturday. They were like, we seemed to kind of not be interested in a competition that we had every chance of winning to fight for a tournament that we won't win.
Yeah.
That's the thing that doesn't make sense. And I know there's a financial element of it, but from fans' point of view, this year in the FA Cup was the biggest opportunity to win it. And then to get drawn at home against Blackburn in the next round as well, it's just...
Oh, don't even go there, Beck. You've done yourself enough, upset yourself enough by going. Let's not do it anymore. But look, everybody, thanks for getting involved in the chat. Thanks everyone for being respectful, apart from the Arsenal fan that I had to block straight away. But
vermin, they get everyone, mate. Vermin.
Yeah, they're never that far away, are they? Like rats.
No.
But we've had a bit of a chat. Whether it's been good enough therapy, I don't know, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, Beck.
All right, thanks for having me. Like I said, we need to talk it out, don't we? Because you do. It's nice hearing how people's different views from different angles as well. Because like you said, I'm at the game, but we don't see replays of anything, and that's why when you watch it back and you think actually it wasn't this and it wasn't that, and it's it's really good. And we just said Spurs will pull us back in. If they do win on Wednesday, then the season is more positive again, and use that to kick on. And it's like we talked about the momentum. We can build on this. It's frustrating that we seem to know what to do to improve it, but the coaches don't, and we stuck with whatever they suggest.
Pay us 15 million quid. We'll do it.
Yeah, I'm just pining. I'm just pining for good football again. That's all I'm pining for. Paul, thanks for coming on, mate. I know you've podded as well the weekend, so you've put your opinions right out there. But cheers for coming on, mate.
No
Really
dramas. Thanks for having me. Thanks for watching, everybody, and guys on the panel, Beck and Jack. Thanks very much. Really good chat. Cheers, mate.
And Jack, thanks for being a last minute sub and
no problem.
coming on and doing a better job than Lucas when he comes in, mate, late. So really appreciate that, Jack.
I'm the super sub. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
But last thing is, guys, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you.